Good, y'all. Shakur Stevenson says that after he beats Teofimo Lopez, he will fight Ryan Garcia and beat him up like he did back in the amateur days, man. This all started because Shakur Stevenson responded to a tweet on Twitter that was showing that on the judges' scorecards for the Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight, they had the fight tied up going into the championship rounds, which is the last two rounds, round 11 and 12. And Shakur Stevenson said this was terrible, right? He pretty much called out the judges for trying to rob Terrence Bud Crawford of his victory this past Saturday. And I told you guys, that's why I picked Canelo Alvarez to win this fight by majority decision, because I already knew that if Bud didn't win by KO, which was extremely unlikely, right? Canelo Alvarez has one of the best chins in the history of boxing. I knew for a fact that the judges were going to try to rob Terrence Crawford and have Canelo win, because Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. Maybe not anymore. Now Terrence Crawford is the face of boxing, but Canelo Alvarez brings the most sport into the sport. He brings the most money into the sport of boxing. He has the biggest fan base, sells the most pay-per-views, and boxing likes to do what's best for business, which is keep the money coming in. And they already know if Canelo Alvarez loses, they're looking at it like they're going to lose money. You understand what I'm saying? So they tried to save Canelo. Terrence Bud Crawford knew this as well, which is why he won rounds 11 and 12. And he stayed active. He didn't take those rounds off, because if he did, he knew it would have costed him on those judges' scorecards, because the judges are always going to be in favor of the champion, especially when the champion is more popular, sells more pay-per-views. It just makes sense for business, right? It's fucked up, but this is boxing, right? Boxing is a corrupt sport, right? So Ryan Garcia, Queen Ryan Garcia, who in his last fight got his ass whooped by Rolly Romero, he responded to Shakur Stevenson and said, "Let's fight." So Shakur Stevenson responded and said, "Wouldn't be no different than what we seen last night. Same as when I cooked you back when we was kids. Or did you forget that fight? Don't worry, I'll remind you of old times after I take care of Tio." Now, Shakur Stevenson, why would you even give Queen Ryan Garcia why would you give him any type of attention, bro? You got a fight coming up next year with Teofimo Lopez. This is going to be a great fight, a great way to start off the new year for boxing. This is a 50-50 fight, right? Teofimo Lopez, very talented fighter. He may be a piece of shit outside of boxing, likes to make, racist remarks, and he thinks it's funny. But as far as what he does in the ring, I'm always going to give props when it's due. Teofimo Lopez is a good fighter, especially when he fights up to his competition. When he fights down to his competition, he looks lackluster, right? Lost to George Kambosos. Had a tough fight with Sandor Martin. Had a tough fight with Jermaine Ortiz. You feel me? But when he fights elite guys, like Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, who we hope he fights next year, he shows up, man, right? Josh Taylor beat Josh Taylor. Even though I think that's an overrated win, I think Josh Taylor is very overrated. I mean, who is Josh Taylor's biggest win? Jose Ramirez? Regis Prograis? I think that's a very overrated opponent on Teofimo Lopez's list, but whatever, right? He beat the champion, right? We got to get props when it's due. But I just don't get why these boxers continue to give Ryan Garcia any attention. I think it's because they know that Ryan Garcia has a huge following, right? He's very popular, has a lot of followers on social media, and they know if they fight Ryan Garcia, let's be honest, if Shakur was to fight Ryan Garcia, it'd easily be the biggest payday of his career because of the fan base that Ryan Garcia has, right? You look at the pay-per-view numbers for Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis, that fight sold a lot of pay-per-views in a time where, it looked like the only person in boxing that could sell pay-per-views after Floyd retired was Canelo, and Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, they were able to do it. So I get why these guys want to fight Ryan. Like even Devin Haney had a face-off with Ryan, and they're talking about having a rematch next year if Devin Haney successfully can get past Brian Norman Jr. But I'm going to be honest with y'all, man. I don't look at Ryan Garcia as an elite boxer, I think Ryan Garcia in the ring is average. I mean, the best thing he has is a left hook, Let's be honest, right? Looked very dominant against Devin Haney. Dropped Devin Haney like 4 or 5 times, right? But you have to look at how he did it. You know, you came into the fight overweight. You came into the fight on a banned substance, Ostarine, which clearly benefited you. And then your first fight after that, you didn't look even half as dominant as you did against Devin Haney against Rolly Romero. You know, in the fight against Rolly Romero, you got dropped, right? You threw a left hook. You got countered by a left hook. You got dropped on your ass. And you pretty much tucked your tail for the rest of the fight. And then after you lost, you in the van crying like a little bitch. So it's like, you know, I don't get why, like, Shakur, like, you shouldn't even entertain Ryan Garcia until he can get a win, right? Like, the fact that Ryan Garcia hasn't been back in the ring, I heard that he had some type of surgery, so he most likely won't be back in the ring until next year. But Ryan Garcia, you need to beat somebody, not just anybody. You need to beat somebody that is at a high level. You understand what I'm saying? Shakur Stevenson is coming off of the best win of his career. He just beat William Cepeda, you know? Everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people thought he was going to lose that fight. A lot of people thought Shakur was going to run around the ring all night. And Shakur stood in the pocket and outboxed William Cepeda, put on a masterclass performance, completely dominated. I had him winning that fight 10-2. You know what I'm saying? There was only one point of the fight where Cepeda rocked him a little bit and almost dropped him. That was it. Other than that, you know, most of Cepeda's shots were either missed or they got blocked. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Shakur. But, yeah, Ryan Garcia, man, like, you need to get a win, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who your next opponent is going to be. Maybe you'll have a rematch with Rolly Romero. I'm hearing rumors that Ryan Garcia possibly might fight Manny Pacquiao, which I think is stupid. But until you get a win, right, until you can prove that you can beat somebody at the top level without coming in overweight or without, you know, taking PED or whatever Ostarine was, you know, you shouldn't even be worried about a guy like Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, they're coming off of wins. Teofimo Lopez had a dominant performance against Arnold Barboza. Shakur had a dominant performance against William Cepeda. You know, Devin Haney had a nasty win against Jose Ramirez, but it was a win. All of these guys got something in common. They're winners. You're a loser, okay? You lost. Your fight before got turned to a no contest because you decided to cheat. The fight should have never happened in the first place. Once you came in overweight on the scale, the fight should have been over. You know, Devin Haney, you know, he cares about, even though a majority of boxing fans hate Devin Haney, I don't know why, but he cares so much about the sport of boxing and the fans that he took the fight. Even though you came in overweight, you paid him extra money for continuing to take the fight, right? Just for you to, you know, cheat and take some type of banned substance, man. You know what I'm saying? So I have absolutely no interest in seeing Shakur Stevenson fight Ryan Garcia. I think it's a waste of time. And I think that there's much better opponents out there for Shakur Stevenson than Ryan Garcia. I'd rather see Conor Benn fight Shakur Stevenson than Ryan Garcia. I think Conor Benn would give him a tougher fight. You understand what I'm saying? Also, Devin Haney. You know, can we get Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney at a catchweight at 143 or something like that? Like, come on, man. There's much better opponents out there for Shakur, man. So with that being said, man, do you guys want to see this fight? Let me know in the comment section, man. Maybe I'm tripping, man. Let your boy Wavy know if he tripping, man. But make sure y'all subscribe, thumbs up that video, and most importantly, leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.